I was crying from the pain. The medicine stopped working hours ago. My nurse couldn't reach me because the HOA lady blocked my driveway with her car. No medical vehicles allowed, she said with a mean smile. She didn't know I was a retired Navy SEAL with friends in high places. Before we start the story, please comment down from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe. My name is James Walker. 3 months ago, I was still able to do 50 push-ups every morning and run 5 miles without breaking a sweat, despite being retired for almost 5 years. All that changed when a drunk driver plowed into my car at an intersection, leaving me with a shattered leg, 3 broken ribs, and internal bleeding that nearly killed me. The doctor said I was lucky to be alive. My military training had conditioned my body to withstand trauma that would have killed most people. But even SEALs have their limits. After 2 major surgeries and a month in the hospital, I was finally allowed to come home, but only with the agreement that a visiting nurse would check on me 3 times a week. That's when I met Angela, an experienced trauma nurse with kind eyes and hands that could detect problems before they became life-threatening. She'd served as a combat nurse in Afghanistan, which gave us an immediate connection. Angela understood what it meant to heal not just a body, but a warrior's spirit. Everything was going fine until Patricia Wilkins got involved. Patricia had been elected HOA president 6 months before my accident. From what my neighbors told me, she ran unopposed after bullying the previous president into quitting. A retired corporate executive in her early 60s with perfectly styled silver hair and designer clothes, Patricia approached her HOA duties like a military campaign, except without any of the honor or respect for others that actual military service teaches you. The first confrontation happened exactly 2 weeks after I came home. Angela had just arrived for my afternoon therapy session, parking her small white sedan in my driveway as she always did. I was sitting in my wheelchair on the front porch, enjoying the spring sunshine, when Patricia marched up my walkway with her ever-present clipboard. "Mr. Walker," she said without bothering to ask how I was recovering, "there's a problem with that vehicle." She pointed at Angela's car with a pen that probably cost more than my weekly disability check. "That's my nurse's car," I explained calmly. "I'm still recovering from the accident." Patricia's thin lips pressed together. "Our bylaws clearly state that no commercial vehicles are permitted in residential driveways. That car has a medical company logo on the door." I looked at the tiny 2-inch logo on Angela's car door, then back at Patricia. "You can't be serious. Rules are rules, Mr. Walker. Everyone must follow them, even you." Before I could respond, Angela came out carrying her medical bag. She smiled politely at Patricia. "Hello there. Is everything okay?" Patricia turned to Angela like she was addressing a disobedient child. "Your vehicle is in violation of our HOA regulations. You'll need to park on the street or Mr. Walker will be fined $100 per day." Angela looked confused. "I'm here providing medical care. My company requires the logo for identification purposes when we visit patients." "That doesn't concern me," Patricia said, tapping her clipboard. "Commercial vehicles must park on the street. No exceptions." I felt my blood pressure rising. Something Angela had warned me to avoid during recovery. "Patricia, this is ridiculous. Angela needs her equipment to help me with physical therapy. Having her park on the street would mean carrying heavy medical supplies an extra 50 yards. "Not my problem," Patricia replied with a dismissive wave. "The rules apply to everyone." Angela, always the professional, touched my shoulder gently. "It's okay, James. I can park on the street." "No," I said firmly. "You're here to provide medical care prescribed by my doctor. There are exceptions in the bylaws for emergency and medical vehicles. I've read them." Patricia's face flushed. "Well, I don't have those specific details with me right now, but I'm certain." Section 12, paragraph 3, I interrupted. "Medical service providers are exempt while delivering care." I made sure to check before Angela started coming. That first confrontation ended with Patricia stomping away, promising to look into it. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 3 days later, Angela arrived to find a bright orange parking boot on her car when she finished my therapy session. What the hell? I wheeled myself outside as fast as I could. Angela stood next to her car, staring in disbelief at the boot locked around her front wheel. "I don't understand," she said. "I've only been here for my scheduled hour." I spotted Patricia watching from across the street, a satisfied smile on her face. When she saw me notice her, she crossed over with the strut of someone who thought they'd won a major victory. "Your nurse exceeded the 1-hour visitor parking limit by 7 minutes, she announced triumphantly. "The fine is $250, plus $75 for boot removal." I stared at her in stunned silence for a moment. You timed her visit? Are you stalking my house now? I'm enforcing the rules, she replied coldly. Payment must be made before the boot will be removed. Angela looked distressed. I have 2 more patients to see today. I can't afford to be delayed like this. That's when something inside me snapped, not in the explosive way my enemies in combat might have seen, but in the cold, focused way that my SEAL teammates would recognize immediately. Patricia had crossed the line, and now she would learn there are consequences for targeting someone under my protection. Remove it, I said quietly. Excuse me? Patricia blinked, clearly not used to being challenged. Remove the boot now, or I'll call the police and report you for illegally detaining a medical professional and interfering with prescribed health care. Patricia scoffed. You can't do that. I'm acting within my rights as HOA president. No, you're not, I explained calmly. What you're doing is called conversion, illegally taking control of someone else's property. It's a form of theft. Since you're doing it to prevent medical care, there could be additional charges. Her smug expression faltered slightly. The HOA has boot authority in our bylaws. 4 common areas and HOA-owned streets, I countered. My driveway is private property. You have 0 authority to place that boot there and you know it. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling Sheriff Davis now. Did you know his brother served with me in the teams? He won't be happy to hear about this. Patricia's face went from confident to uncertain. There's no need to involve the police. I'm sure we can work something out. You have 30 seconds to remove the boot or I make the call. She hesitated, then pulled out a key and bent down to unlock the boot with shaking hands. As she struggled with it, I spoke quietly so only she could hear me. If you ever interfere with my medical care again, I'll make it my personal mission to see you removed as HOA president. Trust me when I say I know how to complete a mission. The boot came off and Patricia retreated without another word. Angela thanked me, but I could see she was rattled by the confrontation. Don't worry, I assured her. She won't bother you again. But Patricia wasn't done with us yet. Not even close. For the next week things were quiet. Then Angela arrived for my Monday appointment to find Patricia and 2 HOA board members standing in my driveway. We've called a special meeting to address the ongoing violations, Patricia announced as Angela stepped out of her car. The board needs to witness the commercial vehicle violation firsthand. One of the board members, a nervous-looking man named Ted, glanced at me apologetically. Patricia insisted we come see for ourselves. The other board member, a woman named Karen, yes really, frowned at Angela's car. That does look like a commercial logo to me. I wheeled forward, my patient's gone. This is harassment, plain and simple. My nurse is here to provide medical care that my doctor has prescribed. The bylaws explicitly allow for this. Patricia smiled thinly. Actually, we amended the bylaws at last night's emergency session. Medical vehicles must now display an HOA-approved temporary permit, which costs $50 per week to obtain. I stared at her in disbelief. You can't be serious. The amendment passed unanimously, she insisted, though Ted suddenly found his shoes fascinating to look at. I wasn't notified of any emergency meeting, I pointed out. Notice was posted on the community board at the clubhouse. Patricia responded smugly. It's not our fault you're not mobile enough to check it. That's when Angela stepped forward, her professional demeanor firmly in place despite the ridiculous situation. Ma'am, I need to inform you that creating barriers to medical care can constitute patient endangerment. As a licensed healthcare provider, I'm required by law to report any such interference. Patricia waved her hand dismissively. Don't threaten me. This is a simple matter of following community rules. It's not a threat, Angela replied calmly. It's my legal obligation to report anything that interferes with patient care. I decided it was time to end this nonsense once and for all. Patricia, I've been patient with you, but this stops now. Your vendetta against me and my nurse has gone beyond ridiculous into potentially criminal territory. Criminal? She laughed. Don't be dramatic. Let me be perfectly clear, I said, keeping my voice steady. I spent 20 years as a Navy SEAL. I've faced terrorists who were less petty and more reasonable than you. If you think I'm going to let you endanger my recovery with your power trip, you're sorely mistaken. Ted's eyes widened. You were a SEAL? I had no idea. Patricia seemed unimpressed. Military service doesn't exempt you from the rules. No, but it taught me to recognize bullies and stand up to them, I replied. It also taught me about the chain of command. Would you like to know who outranks an HOA president? Without waiting for her answer, I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. "Who are you calling?" Patricia demanded. "The county prosecutor's office," I said calmly. "My former teammate works there now. I think he'll be very interested to hear about an HOA president using bylaw amendments to interfere with prescribed medical treatment for a disabled veteran." That finally seemed to rattle her. "There's no need to escalate this." But it was too late. The call connected and I smiled as I heard a familiar voice. "Mike, it's James Walker. Remember that harassment situation I mentioned? It's happening again right now. Could you send someone over?" I paused, listening. "Yes, she's physically blocking my nurse from entering my property." "Thanks, brother." I ended the call and looked at Patricia. "A sheriff's deputy will be here in about 5 minutes. I suggest you and your board members decide whose side you want to be on when he arrives." Ted immediately backed away. "I never agreed to block medical care. This has gone too far." Karen hesitated, looking between Ted and Patricia before stepping back as well. "I thought we were just documenting a violation, not preventing health care." Patricia's face turned an alarming shade of red. "You cowards. We took a vote." "Under false pretenses," Ted muttered. "You didn't say anything about physically preventing medical providers from doing their jobs." Patricia realized she was losing control of the situation. In a desperate move that showed just how poor her judgment was, she stepped directly in front of Angela, blocking her path to my front door. "You are not entering this property with a commercial vehicle parked in the driveway," she declared. "As HOA president, I forbid it." Angela remained calm. "Ma'am, please step aside. I need to provide care to my patient." "No." Patricia crossed her arms, planting herself firmly in the way. What happened next showed exactly why Patricia should have backed down when she had the chance. Angela quietly took out her phone and began recording. "For the record," Angela said clearly, "you are physically preventing me from providing medical care to a patient. Can you state your name, please?" Patricia tried to swat the phone away. "Stop recording me." Her hand connected with Angela's arm, causing her to stumble backward. The phone captured everything, the deliberate blocking of the path and the physical contact. "You just assaulted a healthcare worker," I said quietly. "That's a felony in this state." The color drained from Patricia's face as she realized what she'd done. Before she could respond, a sheriff's department SUV pulled up to the curb. Deputy Collins, a man I'd met several times since moving to the neighborhood, stepped out. "Everything okay here, Mr. Walker?" he asked, taking in the scene with the practiced eye of a law enforcement professional. "No, it's not," I replied. "This woman has been preventing my home healthcare nurse from providing treatment and just assaulted her. Angela has it on video." Deputy Collins turned to Patricia. "Ma'am, I'm going to need to see some identification." "This is absurd," Patricia sputtered. "I'm the HOA president. I was simply enforcing our rules." "By physically blocking a healthcare worker and striking her?" Deputy Collins asked. "That's not within HOA authority. I didn't strike anyone. I barely touched her." "We have it on video," Angela said quietly, turning her phone so the deputy could see the recording. What followed was something I'll never forget. Patricia Wilkins, who had terrorized our neighborhood for months, was placed in handcuffs and read her Miranda rights in front of her fellow board members and several neighbors who had come outside to watch the commotion. "Patricia Wilkins, you're under arrest for assault and interfering with medical care," Deputy Collins announced. "You have the right to remain silent." As she was placed in the back of the patrol car, I could see the shock on her face. She truly believed her position as HOA president made her untouchable. She'd never imagined there would be real consequences for her actions. After the deputy took statements from everyone and left with Patricia in custody, Angela was finally able to begin my therapy session. Though we were both too keyed up from the confrontation to focus properly. "I'm so sorry you had to go through that," I told her as she helped me with my exercises. "It's not your fault," she replied. "In my years of nursing, I've dealt with difficult family members, combative patients, and even war zones, but never an angry HOA president." We shared a laugh, but I knew this wasn't over yet. Patricia would face legal consequences, but the HOA itself needed an overhaul. The aftermath of Patricia's arrest spread through our neighborhood like wildfire. By evening, my phone was buzzing constantly with text messages and calls from neighbors sharing their own horror stories about her reign of terror. Ted, the nervous board member, stopped by to apologize profusely. "I never should have gone along with any of it," he admitted. "She's been making everyone's lives miserable, but no one wanted to stand up to her." "Well, now's your chance," I told him. The HOA needs new leadership. 2 weeks later, an emergency community meeting was called. With Patricia facing criminal charges and barred by the court from contacting me or Angela, the board needed to elect a new president. To my surprise, several neighbors nominated me. I appreciate the thought, I told the packed community center, but I'm still focused on my recovery. However, I do have some suggestions for how we can improve things. I proposed a complete overhaul of the HOA approach. Less focus on petty rule enforcement and more on building community. To my surprise, the ideas were met with enthusiastic approval and incorporated into a new charter. As for Patricia, her legal troubles were just beginning. The district attorney, taking special interest in a case involving interference with a veteran's medical care, charged her with assault on a healthcare worker, a felony in our state, and criminal interference with medical care. She ultimately accepted a plea deal that included community service at a VA hospital, a fitting consequence for someone who'd shown such disregard for a veteran's well-being. Angela continued as my nurse until I had recovered enough to no longer need home health care. On her final visit, she brought me a gift, a framed copy of the revised HOA bylaws with a special section highlighting protections for medical care providers. "Thought you might want this as a souvenir," she said with a smile. Not many patients make lasting community change while flat on their backs recovering from trauma. I laughed. Not many nurses are brave enough to stand up to the neighborhood tyrant either. Today, I'm back to walking without assistance and even jogging short distances. Our neighborhood has transformed from a collection of fearful residents walking on eggshells to a genuine community where people look out for each other. Sometimes the toughest battles aren't fought in distant lands against foreign enemies, but right in your own front yard against people who've forgotten that rules exist to serve people, not the other way around. My years as a Navy SEAL taught me to never back down when something important is at stake, whether that's national security or the simple right to receive medical care without harassment. And if there's one lesson Patricia Wilkins learned the hard way, it's this: before you declare war on your neighbors, make very sure you know who you're dealing with.